Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Adventures in Careerland. Hi, I'm Adriano Magnifico. I'm the career facilitator in the Louis Riel School Division, and we're here again with our podcast, Season 3, Episode 4. We just keep rolling along, and we're very proud of our special producer team here at the Louis Riel Arts and Tech Center. I'm joined, as usual, and ably by Zoe Kruk-Kruzik.
Thank you.
Zoe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
All right. So, Zoe, we had to relocate here. Like, we're in a different place. We're in the student services area because the whole broadcast media program, which is one of the great programs in which they're learning and getting this special certificate to venture out into the world, that place is all booked up. Why is that place booked up? Why can't we use it?
So we're practicing setups for a football game on Friday.
So you guys are producing and you're streaming a football game?
Yeah.
From where?
Dakota.
You see where the podcast stands in the hierarchy of importance. We've been shuffled off to a small little table in the student services area, but it's a beautiful table. And we have Akira Sakaki, who's a Windsor Park grad.
Yes, I am.
Also, and that's our guest today is also from Windsor Park. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm very good. Now, this is a busy time for you because of that football. You're all involved in that football gig, right?
Yeah, not only that, we're also doing, every night we're doing volleyball games too, so.
Yeah.
And school never ends for us. Right after school, we go do
Now,
volleyball games.
But I love this because we're in the Louis Riel Arts and Technology Center. There's 13 applied learning and apprenticeship programs here, and this is the gem. For me, this is the great program. Among the 13, they're all very good. The broadcast media program. This is the program where you really stretch your skills. What kind of skills do you think you guys are getting out of this?
Work ethic.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Work ethic is not really a skill. You just got to come with it. What do you think you're getting good at, I guess, is the question.
Broadcasting.
I know, but what kinds of things in broadcasting?
No.
Professionalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a skill. There you go.
Okay. So you'll be able to go to a football game, stream it, and hook this up when you leave this place.
Well, that's the goal, I guess.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
We're still trying to sort out some things for Friday, but
That's good. Well,
We'll
that's what you
figure it
do.
out.
That's
Yep.
the great problem-solving moment of your life, where this is what regular school doesn't do for you, right? You're having to problem solve because you have real audiences, and you really have to be on top of this and get it right.
yeah.
So, very proud of you guys. It's my great privilege to work with you as always, and we're working with you guys till the end of this semester. So, I'm already feeling sad about losing you, but very grateful that you're here today. We have a special guest today. His name is Shawn Singh. Shawn Singh is a former student of mine from 2009 at Windsor Park Collegiate. So he blazed a trail for you, Akira. Shawn Singh, how you doing, sir?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, we're super excited to have you because I've been following your career path a bit, and I'm your old English teacher, and you're my former student, and so we connect with each other every few years. Is that about right?
Yeah, I would say so. It's wonderful every time you get the chance.
Yeah, it's always good. So tell us what you've been doing, what you've been up to, what you're doing right now. And we're going to go back in time, Shawn, and we always like to go back to those high school days. And we're going to start talking about how you got here. And that's the purpose of this podcast. How you got here, what decisions you made, what did you overcome, what challenges did you foresee, and what stuff are you trying to work towards? So tell us where you're at right now, real quickly.
Yeah, of course, I'd be happy to. So like you mentioned, I graduated an eon ago. I went to Windsor Park Collegiate and graduated in 2009. I still think fondly back on the classes that we got to take together, and I think it really helped me develop some of my skills in writing, which is really helpful in law school. So I'm a law student. I'm at Robson Hall at the University of Manitoba. And to get there, I did some time doing a criminology degree at the University of Manitoba as well.
I like how you say you did some time. Was that a pun?
Maybe that's a play on my criminology experience. I don't know.
You did some time.
It was definitely fun, but still some labor, like that work ethic that Akira and Zoe were just talking about. But yeah, so I still live in the neighborhood, Windsor Park. I've got a ponytail, so if anybody sees me around, happy to chat with folks.
Yeah, but you just got married.
Yeah,
Hold it. You just got married.
I'm glad that you brought that up.
To
Yeah,
your
I've been
child,
with my
to your high school sweetheart.
and yeah, you were even a part of that experience.
I know.
It was really fun.
I tuned in. It was a virtual marriage just in the summertime. It was so cool. You did a Hindu marriage, yes, and then what would you call it? You did two versions.
Yeah,
didn't
so
you?
we did a Hindu wedding, which
Yes.
like took 5 or 6 days, and then we did
Yes.
a traditional Christian wedding at the
Yes.
Winnipeg Art Gallery,
Yes.
and it's absolutely fantastic. I will say that was the best moment of my life, and my wife was obviously be very happy to hear that. But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. I'm married this summer, so I get to wear a ring now.
That's very cool. That's so fulfilling. And those moments when you decide we're going to venture together, those are great things. Zoe and Akira, I bet you can't wait for those moments.
I don't know about that.
No, I don't know. Zoe's saying forget it. Akira's rolling his eyes. I've got a couple of deers in the headlight here. Anyway, that was
No pressure, no pressure.
yeah.
But I guess I should say, just talk. Thank you. And yeah, I met her at.
No, I was going to say
Sorry,
congrats
go
on
ahead.
that because it's such an incredible moment in your life. But talk about that. Talk about your high school life.
Yeah, so like I met my wife in high school, and I got to live a really great experience doing the career internship program and really getting into all of the different skills that you can learn under your mentorship and the mentors that we had there. So it was really great to get into that kind of stuff. And while I was at high school, like I will be honest, I had a little bit of trouble while I was getting on track with my journey. And I think that was related to how I see things. And something that I saw while I was in this high school experience is that I saw things differently. It didn't really make sense to me at that time, but seeing things differently seemed like a weakness then. But now that I've been able to really develop that kind of perspective, seeing things differently can really bring value to different teams. And I think that was one of the big things that I learned while I was at high school.
Well, that's you know what, Shawn? That's a pretty powerful thing you said. You saw the world differently, and you weren't appreciated for it. So how did you feel when you offered this different perspective, but you didn't feel like it was being recognized or acknowledged?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you asked because, like you say, I had a bit of a hard time seeing things the way that was being taught, and like we worked through different class material. I wasn't really connected to it because I was trying to figure it out, but it wasn't being communicated in the way that I thought. And so I took a different approach to learning different things and needed to take different steps to really make sure that I understood. While I was in that high school experience, I kept looking for new ways to really bond with what I needed to learn. And I had great experiences with you, other teachers like Mr. Gross, Mr. Chapman. I hope they're still part of the team. It'd be great to see them sometime. But at the same time, I also got to adventure and learn about different opportunities in different places in the community. Like I got a job at Southfield McDonald. I'm sure that's a place that many of your listeners have been to. And I got to build different skills related to that kind of stuff too.
You know what's interesting about your McDonald's experience? I recall you working at McDonald's. I've never seen someone so dedicated to working at McDonald's. Like you were the McDonald's machine. Like that was taking up. How many hours did you work a week there in high school?
I'm very proud of this. But one time I was working 60 hours, 50 hours a week. It was just fun. And I got to apply some of the skills that I learned in high school. And I got to work with a bunch of my friends. But really got to build that team understanding and that kind of stuff. So one of these funny stories, like I even made more than the restaurant manager one week because I was just working so much and I didn't even realize it. It was just so much fun being able to be part of that team and put the system to work.
So how are you able to juggle like working 50 to 60 hours a week and high school at the same time? Because that sounds like such a difficult task to do.
And that's totally a fair question. Like I would say that rather than working 50 hours every week, I worked at touch and go. But balancing it out, like sometimes I didn't get enough sleep, but I always came to class. And I'm sure Mr. Magnifico or even Mr. Gross would come by and wake me up every now and then. That's not a great lesson. I probably even shouldn't be saying that too much.
Yeah, you were out of it sometime, man. Like you were tired. You were tired in the day because you put a lot of time in. You were going day and night in school and then off to McDonald's. And then I involved you because you were in the Career Internship program, which is this internship program where you're connecting to professionals in the community. We were pushing you out those doors too. So you were really busy in high school. But what was it like? The irony of that is you made more than your restaurant manager. You became the manager.
Yeah.
Like how old were you when you became the manager?
Yeah. So like I became an assistant manager, so salaried when I was 18. And that was because I really connected with different staff and really understood what their issues were and being able to bring people together to drive the results that the business was looking for. So at 18, I ended up becoming an assistant manager, and I ended up buying a sweet sports car, which I will always be fond of.
I remember that. What kind of car was that?
I bought an Audi S4. I bought it on debit, which was maybe not so great of a choice, but it was pretty fun to get the car.
Oh, you love that car, man. You love that car.
I still got it. And some people think I should probably get rid of it, but that's a question for another time. But so I got to manage at McDonald's, and I ended up working up with that company and became a restaurant manager, and got to do a lot of cool things. And that spanned from my time in high school, but I got to work with a lot of my classmates, got to learn how to be a team member as well as a leader, and how to, again, figure out what the issues are and how to really drive the business. I ended up managing 8 different restaurants around the city, and had a lot of fun doing it.
8 different restaurants?
Yeah, and I could even tell you, I actually, while I'm going on about this, I do have a funny story about McDonald's. Did you know that there is the McDonald's Olympics?
No, I never knew that. I can't believe there is.
That was going to be my question. I read it in the little write-up that you gave us. I wanted to know what exactly is the McDonald's Olympics?
Yeah, well, I'd be happy to tell you a little bit about that. So the McDonald's Olympics is an owner-operator convention. They do that in a different location around the world. And I got to compete with the Canadian kitchen. And so as the selected representative from Manitoba, I got to go down to Florida and work with 700 different people from Canada. We put together what is the model system, and then had to critique that system and make a business optimization plan to be presented to the worldwide executive board to make claims about how we could improve the business. And then we had to compete against all of the other kitchens around the world.
Oh, that's an amazing project.
It was a lot of fun. And I'll tell you, I did get an interesting award. I'm apparently, or at least at that time, I definitely can't do it these days. I was the fastest sandwich wrapper, and I got a gold medal for that, so that was pretty fun. And the Canadian jurisdiction, we ended up winning gold medals for service and delivery and all that other kind of stuff. And if I were to give you a funny piece of information, if you ever have a fry from McDonald's that curves, it's from Manitoba.
Wow. That's amazing. You got the gold medal, and you're the fastest sandwich wrapper. Is anyone, they timed you and everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. I could wrap 3 sandwiches in 5 seconds, something like that.
Wow.
So
these might be Olympic records that still stand today. Do you ever look back on that stuff?
I have the opportunity. I haven't looked back in a little while, but I think that's fun. But I will say, I did get to hold the FIFA World Cup because of that competition. That thing is heavy.
You mean the FIFA Soccer World Cup?
That's right.
You held the real one?
I did, because McDonald's is a sponsor, like they sponsor other things. So they ended up bringing down the cup for us to hold as the winning team. So yeah, I still think fondly back on it often.
That's amazing, Shawn. How long ago was that, Shawn, when you competed in this?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think that was 2012, 2013.
Oh yeah, so that's a long time.
It was a little while. I'd be a young whippersnapper.
Oh yeah, you were probably tiny. You don't have the gray hair. You don't have any of those pieces you have now that give you a little distinctiveness.
I probably wouldn't even have the ponytail that I've been talking so fondly of already.
I'm curious about this experience with McDonald's now. Was that a touch tone experience? That sounds huge. How did that influence you moving forward, that experience?
The McDonald's experience?
Yeah, even it sounds huge, a huge part of your life. So
it really was. And I would say it was a really big part of my identity and being able to form that idea of adulthood when I was going through high school and becoming an adult. And I mentioned, I learned a lot of great skills working with others, being able to communicate, being a leader, of things like that. But at the same time, I also got to experience some of the darker sides of working with others. One story that was kind of negative that I think that ended up turning into a motivation for me was I had a boss at one time, and like I said, I became this restaurant manager and working with many others responsible for the performance and things like that. And I had this boss, and he had particular views about how the business should run, and totally entitled and all that other kind of stuff. And we had some conversations about what he wanted to make happen in the business. And while he was discussing these things with me and giving me direction on how I can improve my team, I found that his approach took particular focus on certain members of the team. And that focus and his interest in removing them wasn't related to business performance. And so, I investigated that a little bit, and I tried to find out what was going on. And I ended up discovering and coming to terms that this fellow, he wanted me to discriminate against my own staff and to make decisions. It was pretty unfortunate. But he basically wanted me to remove these people because they didn't fit his vision.
Yeah, they didn't fit into his picture of what it should look like, what the world should look like, right?
Like what a service person could be, or who belongs in the kitchen, and other things like that. And that just didn't sit well with me. So I investigated it and tried to find a way to discuss this meaningfully with him. And after a few discussions, I found that he was committed to that idea, and he was committed to making me make that happen. So unfortunately, I had to leave the team.
Oh, so you left McDonald's over that?
I did, because that's something my parents, they came to this country because of the freedom that we enjoy and how we treat others. And I don't think I can support that, especially in a job like that.
Like for me, that just shows your character, man. You took a stand and you said, that's just not right. You're discriminating. That's just not right. And I'm going to make a call on it. And you only make a call when you do something with a behavior, right? And you decided to leave. I think that's pretty powerful. So congrats on that. But now you leave from there. Are you feeling down? Are you feeling like, oh, what do I do now? What was going through your head? Because you were going to university at the time too, weren't you?
Yeah, it was. And I was trying to find my path. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go through university. And I guess I should take a moment and say, to any student out there, when you get into university, don't think you got to figure it out off the hop. Get in there, start feeling around, see what feels fun and what's enjoyable to learn, and you'll find your step. But yeah, I was going to university, and I had to come to terms with this reality that some business people make.
But when you think about this, you left McDonald's. Had you not left McDonald's there, do you think you'd still be there? If that scenario didn't happen, do you think were you looking at McDonald's as this is going to be the path?
At one time, I did think that it's a great job, and that I could have made a really substantial future with that team, being able to do management, trained, supported, and the kinds of benefits that they really give to their employees to help them have that positive lifestyle. Yes. That stuff is all really fantastic. So I could have stayed in that team, but unfortunately, this fellow interrupted that investment for them.
Yeah, but it turned out to be amazing. You took your stand and you went through university and searched around. So what did university give you as you searched around? What kinds of things stuck to you? We talk about stuff here in this podcast about collecting dots all the time. You're collecting all these dots, and certain things about your experiences are sticking to you, others are not, right? And you move forward and you take the best and you just keep looking and searching. You follow your nose a bit, right? Like a bunny. Yeah, so when you left McDonald's, you're going through university. What are you figuring out about yourself?
Yeah, and I think that my discriminatory experience at McDonald's was formative in the sense that, I wanted to make change. And I like I said earlier, I have immigrant parents that came here from Guyana, South America, came here for a better life. And I wanted to really find out how I could make a difference related to preventing that kind of stuff from affecting others. Because we're a nation of immigrants, people will come. And at the same time, we need to make sure that they have that success and are accepted. So I was in the University of Manitoba trying to figure things out. I did some natural sciences. I really loved microbiology. And to anyone out there, that is a great field and very interesting. Did things like that, some religion, which is also very interesting. And ended up finding my pace with things related to political science, history, and sociology. But, that took a little bit of searching. And while I was working through those subjects, I found that I really connected well with the different theories that are out there about structural factors, how those things can play into creating discriminatory outcomes, and also how history can play into those things, as well as how those issues can be managed and create change, where if we change that structure, then we can end up creating positive benefits for people who may be disadvantaged. So I got to kind of learn about that at the University of Manitoba, sociology, criminology, and all of those subject matters, even though it doesn't seem like it, they kind of come together under that criminological banner. So criminology is basically a study of antisocial behavior and how antisocial behavior can be codified into law, and how measures are taken to either increase or decrease that particular type of behavior or manage it.
Geez, you sound like a university professor there, Shawn. I like it.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. The language is slipping into my...
Listen, I'm thinking back to when you're in grade 11 and you're doing physics and you're half asleep in the class. And I'm just so impressed with everything you're saying. I'm hanging on every word. This is amazing, man. I love it. I want to say also that I asked for a few notes on, hey, Shawn, give us a few notes in your life. And Shawn has provided the team here with a 5-page, single-spaced, small dissertation on his life that I want to say, as your English teacher, I'd give you an A+ on. This is one of the better essays that you've ever done for me. So congratulations on all this. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, wow, you are profound, man. You've come a long way. And I love this notion of I want to change things. So what you went into, well, before you get into law, what did you, I get a sense of what you want to change. There's some really unhealthy practices out there about how people relate to one another. And you're taking all the courses that are connecting you to those perspectives, correct?
The big thing for me was really being able to hone in on this idea of bias, and discrimination happens, but also at the same time, people mean to do well, and they want to do good by others, and they want to be able to bring people together. And you have the odd bad apple, like that boss that I was talking about before. But in the general sense, certain dispositions, they just don't include certain perspectives, and because those perspectives aren't included, sometimes they end up just falling by the wayside. Yeah. And so with that, I wanted to really be able to draw attention to these different perspectives so that they're included in decision-making processes. And if they're included, then they can be accounted for.
No, that's awesome. So you're all about community. You're about bringing people together. You want to make the world a better place. So you're into...
That's exactly right.
I love it. I love it. So you decide at what point I want to go into law school. When do you decide that?
Getting into law school, it took some decision making. I did some volunteering at the university. I learned more about those different topics. And while I was getting into the idea of criminology and how that really could fit into this idea of change, I connected the training that I had as assistant manager while I was at McDonald with the content I was learning at school to really see how structural decision making could influence those outcomes, especially in terms of criminality, but also in governance. So I learned while I was in university about the power of the effective power structures and how those things can organize our lives. And while doing so, I was also encouraged by faculty to share that perspective and to kind of work with different community organizations and volunteer groups to be able to share that knowledge. So professors like Susan Prentice, Mara Friedel, Tracy Peter, Russell Smandich, I fondly call him Smandy. They really helped me in really seeing that I had this perspective. And then I started to work in different community groups to share that knowledge that I have. So a few examples would be the Manitoba Association for Rights and Liberties. So I got to do some work with them and learning about human rights and how those things are operationalized or not here in Manitoba. And also got involved politically. And I got to work with the Liberal Party of Canada. So my involvement with them was a part of my educational experience. I took political science and really loved it. And while I was doing that, I had a chance to connect with different members of different parties and learn about what work they do and what their perspective is on governance. And I really connected with the Liberal Party. I thought that their politics connected with the values that I wanted to see in my community. So I started volunteering in St. Boniface St. Vital and in Winnipeg South, and really had a great time. It may seem a bit trite to say, but talking to your neighbors can really just be fun.
Yes, yes. Well, that's a natural extension, right? And you also connected with Jim Carr. Weren't you on his team? And he's one of Manitoba's prominent ministers, right? So what effect did Jim Carr have on you, watching him work? Because he's got a great story of all the work he does in Winnipeg and Manitoba.
Yeah, I would say that it was really inspiring being able to work for such a renowned leader, but also he's just a really cool guy. He connected with me. We spoke about our vision on what Manitoba could be, and he also spoke to me interestingly and connected to my own experience. He spoke to me about the discrimination that some members of the Jewish community end up facing. and some of his own life experiences in the 60s, 70s, and facing those kinds of things. So he really connected over how those experiences affected his life and some of the experiences I had. But in an alternative sense, we also got to build on those and really look at how we could serve the community better because we had an understanding that these problems took place. So yes, I got to work with Minister Carr. I was his constituency assistant in Winnipeg South Centre, and I got to work with community members there. And because he was a federal minister, the federal minister here in the province, I got to touch on all kinds of governmental issues. I got to work at an intergovernmental level, working with the province, working with the city, and working with all kinds of different organizations that are in the neighborhood. And I got to touch on different matters that are important to them, connect them to different government programs, and then to also try and resolve issues, even if government wasn't really involved. And really rewarding experience. And you'd be surprised what kind of change you can make with the power of Google, or alternatively, the power that comes with being able to connect people with some level of authority. But yes, so I got to do that kind of work. And I will say one interesting story that I do have about that role is I got to do things even around the world because he was a federal minister. So when he was Minister of International Trade Diversification, I had an experience where I got to work with staff of the OECD, and I got to coordinate the Canadian presence of at an international trade engagement that was taking place in Israel. So I got to work with people from countries around the world to be able to figure out who's going to be at this seminar and how they can interact with the different ministers and things. So it's really interesting. And even just catching how different parlance and other things that those people would expect.
See, that's amazing, Shawn. See, one of the great things I listen to as I think about this path you talk about is the amount of trust that you've developed with people along your path, and they take you in and they share stories and they build you into their sense of community, and then you move forward with all that, and you're just so much stronger. Would you say the people you've met have just made you stronger, mentorship-wise?
No doubt in my mind. Anytime that I get to, I've got many mentors on this roadmap, like with Jim Carr's team, got to work with Rebecca Parkinson and Charlotte Johnson. And the two of them, they helped me learn what it took to be an administrator, and they took the time. But at the same time, I also got to be a part of their team and really work to help others see how we could affect these things. And I had a lot of great mentorship experiences outside of even working at Jim Carr's office.
I don't want to cut you off a bit here. I want to make sure you talk about your law experience a bit, though, and some of the cool things you're doing in law right now, because I don't want to I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to make sure we get that part in, because you've done some good things. You're in your third year of law. You've done some good things in your law practicum and program. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I'm just enjoying talking to you so much.
I know.
It's been a little bit of a while. I
You're
apologize.
a great talker. I just want to make sure when I'm hauled into court, you're my lawyer, okay? Because I think you'll talk that judge's ear off. I think it'll be perfect. All right, he's innocent. Get him out of here, everybody.
It has its moments. You got to know how to lay up the right argument, right?
And I want to tell you that's one of your great skills. I could listen to you all day long. This is awesome. I'm worried about the time, and I want to make sure we get some of your best stuff in. Talk about your law piece here and some of the cool things you've done in law that have really shaped you and are helping you move forward.
Yeah, well, perfect segue talking about my experience at Jim Carr, learning about discrimination, other things like that. So I really connected with this idea of creating change at the governance level. And so I decided that I've been great in this role, and I think it'd be a good way forward. So I decided to take the LSAT. And the LSAT's an aptitude test that you need to take to get into law school, and that thing is not easy. That thing is quite tough. And the law, it's like its own language, and it takes effort to learn about what it is and how to identify those issues and all that other kind of stuff. And so I committed to this test. It took me a long time. I had to take a few tries and all that other kind of thing, but I was successful, and I did end up getting into law school. And so while in there, it's a 3-year program. You get to learn about different areas of law, and then you get to really drive into where your niche will be. And I really connected to the public areas of law. So looking at criminal law, constitutional law, and administrative law. And looking at these issues, I interestingly was able to articulate these issues related to discrimination in the context of rights and how we have human rights. And a lot of them are codified into the Charter of Rights and Freedom. And so that really plays through in criminal law, constitutional, and in the administrative context. So I got to work with mentors like Karen Busby, who is fantastic, and she's retiring this year. So if you get to see her, let's say congratulations. And Professor Brandon Trask. They worked with me to understand how these things operate, as well as how to really express how those concepts really come together. And so I got to hone my understanding of how rights work in relation to discrimination, bias, and other things like that. And then I also got to apply that knowledge in different student organizations and around the university. So I got to work with groups like the Manitoba Law Students Association, and also did some group work with faculty members to bring in guest speakers, and worked with external stakeholders, so different organizations at the school or in the community, to bring them into the law school to raise awareness about how these issues are affecting people in Winnipeg, people in Manitoba, and also how we as lawyers, as professionals, can really make a difference in relation to that. So an example of what I got to do with some of those groups is I brought a speaker panel of Black, Indigenous, or person of color legal practitioners, and they all came to talk about the realities of race in the courts and in the legal system generally, and as well as their experiences about how to work with those kinds of things.
Yes.
And building from that, I even got to make some change at the faculty level and increase the number of BIPOC representation that happens on decision-making communities or committees there.
You are all about, you see something wrong or you see a problem, you want to fix it, you want to work on it. And I think you've discovered through your education, your McDonald's experience, things take time. You have to nurture them, you have to build them, you have to build relationships, you have to build your team and your community. And that's how to affect change. Is that a reasonable thing to say?
I would say so, because as much as a vision is a vision,
yes,
to make that vision a reality, it takes buy-in from others. And at the same time, that requires connection with others to be able to share what that message is and then bring them on board. So being able to connect with other people is critical.
No, well, that's pretty cool. Like you've got an amazing resume here. I mean, I'll flip to page 4 of your little dissertation you gave us, and there's all kinds of interesting little tidbits you give me. You are such a reflective person. Did you think in high school you would be thinking this way, or did you just feel confused, or what should I do? What were you thinking?
I had no clue. I was in class trying to figure it out, and it was just a guessing game to try and find that path.
I remember in the program here, we threw you into the hovercraft project. You were building a hovercraft, and you were creating things. And I think of where you are now. All of these experiences and the confusion, as long as you're on the path and you're collecting enough dots that you can think about them to start connecting them, boy, things turn out for you. And I think you're still on that path. Like you still don't know where the path is going to lead, but because you're building the network and you're building the experiential base, you're going to start connecting those dots as you are in even more profound ways. I think something cool is going to happen to you down the road, Shawn. I don't know what, but I think something's going to cool. But I wanted to make sure we got back to that high school piece because I'm looking at Akira. Akira, do you know exactly what you want to do?
I have an idea of what I want to do,
Yes.
but not like set in stone, you know?
Exactly. And you're still thinking, right?
Yeah.
You're in the broadcast media. They want to move into different places. They see where these jobs lead. Shawn, those are good things. Hey, you know what? It's time for the whip it round. I'm going to turn it over to
Us.
Zoe. Us. The us. The us is going to get it. So all you have to do, Shawn,
All right.
don't think about the answers, okay? These are one-word answers, my friend, okay? Do not overthink this, all right? Are you ready?
I will not. I swear. I'm ready.
Time. Go. Here, you ready, Zoe?
Sure. Ketchup or mustard?
Oh, ketchup, for sure.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Pineapple on pizza? I love pineapple on pizza.
All right.
That's a senior thing.
Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
Crunchy.
Is a glass half full or half empty?
Always half full.
And what's your favorite restaurant?
Well, I have to say McDonald's after this story.
That's right. You better say McDonald's. And I want some coupons. Anyway.
All right, Star Wars or Star Trek?
I got some for you. Star Trek. Geez, Shatner went to space.
Right
Messy
on.
or clean desk?
Messy.
What is your favorite potato chip?
Sour cream and onion.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Dream vacation location?
The Caribbean.
Favorite day of the week?
Weirdly Wednesday.
Chicken or steak? Or fish?
Chicken.
Or fish. Fish is an option too. All right.
I would take fish.
All right then. You just got whipped.
Well, we say whooped around here, right? We got whooped. Anyway,
I
there
like
you go.
saying
You just got whooped on the whip around. Anyway, those are little tidbits. People get to know you in a little different way, right? Hey, you know what,
Hey,
Shawn?
fantastic.
This was a lot of fun. I want to say you're a very gifted talker, and I mean that with great sincerity. You weren't like this in high school. You were smart and introspective, and you were a listener, and you held back a little bit. That's what I saw a bit. Like you asserted when you had to. I just think something's good going to happen to you because you are connecting your dots and you're choosing experiences and you're finding mentors that are really helping you get to the heart of who you are, what's important to you, and what will be important. What I really like about you too is you don't think about yourself. You're thinking of the community and you're thinking of the larger picture of, for example, your discriminatory experiences, some of them you've had that you want to act on. That's awesome stuff, man. I'm just so proud of you as your teacher, your former teacher. I'm so proud.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, and I'm glad to live up to the expectation. It's been a lot of fun, and we're all part of the community, right?
Right. And well, this is awesome. And you know what? Now that you've given us this essay, we also have this artifact now we will hold to other people saying, we're looking for an essay like this. Oh, no. We'll never get another guy in the podcast, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they'll probably come and chase me out of Windsor Park after all that. Yeah. Jeez, oh my goodness.
Who did this? A guy named Shawn Singh. We'll hunt him down. That's what they'll do.
Yeah, geez. Oh, not too far anyway.
Hey, you were awesome today. You are just a gem of a person. It's our privilege to hear you today. I'm just so ecstatic about what you're doing and just so proud about the path you're taking. And I have every belief that you're going to make some difference in this world. And I think you already are. So congratulations, Shawn. And I want to tell everyone that is it for Adventures in Careerland. Be safe out there. We'll see you next week.